there was like a big podcast on the Ringer, like where they were talking about called Bandsplain, and she was talking about it. She's like, "Wait, did you guys know that like Justin Warfield from like She Wants Revenge is One Inch Punch and like was like on the Romeo and Juliet soundtrack?" And like, I will post something about that sometimes, and friends that I've known for 20 years will be like, "Wait, what?"
Right. But the tape situation, you said you guys had several labels at you. Why didn't you guys sign the deal?
I mean, honestly, like, I think we got greedy. I think like Tape quickly became like the coolest and one of the biggest bands in LA. The first show we ever played had like 60 A&Rs literally at our show. It's one of those things where like sometimes in the industry, like also at that time, I think people were like, "Oh, these guys are going to be the next At the Drive-In," and At the Drive-In got a huge deal on the Beastie Boys Grand Royal, and they had a hit on MTV. So people were like, "These guys are the next At the Drive-In," and it was when garage rock was happening. So the Strokes and the White Stripes had not yet happened, but they were about to, and I was into that wave, and I was really into that because I was trying to do like Iggy and the Stooges, like Iggy Pop type music, like mixed with like I wanted to be in At the Drive, like, and I don't mean literally, but like I was influenced by At the Drive-In and Iggy Pop and the Stooges and like the MC5. And I just wanted to be crazy and rock and roll and jump all over the place and scream and rap and sing. Guitar player wanted to be doing Jesus and Mary Chain or My Bloody Valentine. Drummer wanted to be doing Soundgarden or like this weird UK band Loop. Bass player was like, he didn't want to be anybody else. He just wanted to do the weird stuff that he did on a bass. And we were an amazing group. It was musically, I've probably never been in a band where the musicianship was that good. Like you hear it, like if you listen to the tape stuff, we recorded that live and then did overdubs. Like it's live. This was like on tape, and then the last recording was on 2 or on Pro Tools. It was, oh, actually one EP. The rest was on 2-inch tape. We played it. That band was amazing. We had a label that wanted to give us like they literally were like, we're going to give you like a $1 or $2 million deal, whatever it was something stupid. But like, it was one of those things where it was like too good to be true, and it was crazy, bro. Like if I told you, you would laugh. It was like the director of like Bruce Almighty and some of those Jim Carrey movies, like Liar Liar. Like this dude named Tom Shadyac had a label at Universal, and his reps came to see us at our first show, and we're like, "We love you guys. We want to sign you." And we're like, "We're not signing with anybody." And they were like, "What do you need?" We're like, "We don't need anything. We're good." They're like, they started hanging around with us, taking us to dinner. Then like, "Do you need like a rehearsal room?" We're like, "We need a better rehearsal room." They're like, "We'll pay for it." And then they're like, "Do you need a PA?" They're like, "We'll pay for it." And then they were like, and we're all like probably 28 at this point to 30 something. I was like 28, 29. They paid for everything, bro. And like they became our friends. We were going on golf trips with these dudes. Like it was crazy. And like then they were like, "Hey, we're gonna let you talk to other labels because we're fair. We're not trying to just like we want you to know we have your back." It was crazy. And then the next thing you know, our lawyer was like, "We're gonna send you to New York for a showcase at CBGB's in the Mercury Lounge." Next thing you know, 5 labels were paying to get in. Then the labels, then there was just so much contempt because they're like, "Okay, here's this buzz band we're supposed to see." David Bowie showed up with Matt Pinfield from MTV to our show at CBGB's for all these labels to check us out. And then they were like, "Why are we going to pay $1 million for this weird band with no singles or hits?" LA Reid was like, "Don't sign with anybody else. Like, I just found out about you tonight. You guys are special." Like, we sat at his office the next day. He's like, "I just took over Eris to like leave the other labels. I'm going to give you exactly what you want." And I'm like, "Okay." Then he ghosted us. And then like, then we were talking to like every label, bro, like everything. And then they all just like went away. And then our bass player got stuck in Australia with a visa problem. And then like our band sort of dissolved. And by the end of it, this is also like right after like this was still in the wake of 9/11. It was like 2 years. It was like before 9/11 until 2003. So it was a weird time. Industry was changing. At this point, like I wanted to go sort of in a different direction and make sort of darker music. First, I wanted to go super garage rock. Then I was like kind of leaning towards darker new wave. Anyways, long story short, it just fell apart, even though we are all still very close friends and like have a regular dinner where we get together once every few months. But the band dissolved. And like we got an offer from a Swedish like punk label that was super cool at the time. But after hearing that we were going to get $1 million, it was pretty hard to do like an EP for 20 grand. And everybody was just kind of like, "I think we're out." And it was for the best because right after that, my friend Bree Delano, who is a DJ and a painter and artist, I went to her crib for like a barbecue, and she was like, I saw Adam 12, Adam Brave in there, and we had grown up together, like not close, but in the same LA hip hop scene. And she was like, why don't you guys make music together? And I'm like, I tried to make music with him. He's like shy and quiet. And like, whenever I go over there and play him music and play him my songs and he plays me beats, he just sort of doesn't say much. She's like, why don't you go try again? So we went back to my crib. We made a beat together and we were like, yo, let's just be like the next Neptunes and just produce people and just make a lot of money. And that led to us doing a bunch of hip hop with no MCs. And so one day I was like, I think I'm going to rap on it. And then we were like sitting at Def Jam and they were like going to offer us a deal. And then like, we were kind of doing it as a joke. Like it was making fun of like that whole era of like shiny suit hip hop and like, you know what I'm saying? Like, with, yeah, lights, camera, action time of, right? And I was like, yeah, like Vibrant Thing. You know what I mean? Like when Tip's doing Vibrant Thing, like great song, but it was a weird era. And like, I won't even say the dude's name, but you know, the dude who was the producer, label person who was at that time, like pushing things. And like, except for Vibrant Thing and Joe Budden and a few songs that we really thought were dope, or like, you know, Jay, obviously, we thought hip hop was in a terrible state, at least in the mainstream. And so we were like, let's make fun of it. So we did this project called The Spits, where I was like, what if I just look like a scumbag from like the Warriors with like a denim jacket, my hair and a bandana, but I'm rhyming and we're stepping out of limousines and popping bottles and like so we were gonna do this whole thing where like he was all quiet in the back looking hard and I was in like a denim jacket looking like, you know, like Cleon or Swan from the Warriors. But we were going to be limousines and back rooms and after parties, and we were going to do it basically jiggy. We were like, let's do dope music with a jiggy look and we'll fool people.
Right.
And they'll be so confused and we'll get rich while making fun of how whack everything is. And Def Jam was like, this is dope. There is one little thing I missed. Tape started as me and my friend Balthazar Getty as the first music project I did when I got sober in 99. And we did the stuff where he was making hip hop beats and I was rhyming over it and playing guitar. And we almost got signed by Leor Cohen to Def Jam. And then Jimmy Iovine was going to sign us, and then Leor Cohen was going to swoop us because they had a rivalry. And we didn't end up signing. And then Balt didn't want to do music anymore. So I got guys to play with me and took the Tape name, and then Tape happened. So when Adam and I are doing the Spits, we got tired of it. We got home from New York playing the stuff for Def Jam. That was also when I was styling the Grammys and all that.
Right.
Like, bro, like, I don't really want to do this anymore. My ex-girlfriend had come to town before, and I had done a project for her called Sex in Cars, where she was like, will you do some music for me? It sounds like Susie and the Banshees, Joy Division, and The Cure, and New Order. And so I did. And that was the first time I composed and wrote and played all the instruments myself, except for a few things that my current bass player and really good friend Thomas Froggatt played. I did all the music and she sang, and I helped her with the melodies. And I was like, damn, it's really easy for me to make this new wave music and this dark wave stuff because I grew up on it. And then she didn't want to do the project anymore. So when Adam did a beat for our boy Kenna, who was signed by Fred Durst to Interscope, he played me the beat and I was like, this is too nice to give to Kenna. You should let me do something. And he's like, what are you going to do on it? And I'm like, I don't know. So he's like, okay, well, if you don't come up with anything, I'll give it to Kenna. So I took it to my apartment and I played guitar on it and I sang on it. And I sang on it in a voice I'd never sang before. Unlike Tape, unlike One Inch Punch, unlike Supernut, unlike my rhyming voice. And I was like, how do I convey emotion and intensity without yelling? And I was like, it's kind of robot-y and new wave. And I started doing this voice. And I was like, yo, that sounds crazy. And I gave it to Adam. And he was like, bro. He's like, this is our group. And I was like, word? Didn't give it to Kenna. We do 2 or 3 more songs. Those songs end up on the, you know, the first She Wants Revenge record. It's These Things, Out of Control, Tear You Apart, I Don't Want to Fall in Love. I Don't Want to Fall in Love. We're like, let's do a song that sounds like Hey by Outkast.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't sound anything like that. But like we're two B-boys whose references are like that. And then we do this weird shit. So literally out of the wreckage of Tape formed the Spits. And out of the wreckage of the Spits formed She Wants Revenge.
Did you guys end up signing with Geffen for that project?
Yeah, so what's crazy is so Balthazar Getty had said, I don't want to do music right now. He went off to do his acting career. And then he started working with a friend of ours named Scott Thomas. And Kenna, who was supposed to get our beat, was like popping off MTV Awards, all that, and signed by Fred Durst to Interscope. Interscope acquires Geffen. Fred Durst says to Kenna, I want you to find me someone to sign. Bring me something dope. Kenna brings them Ringside, which was Balthazar Getty and Scott Thomas. They make a record. They start doing it. Then Fred Durst says to Balthazar, I want you to bring me something dope. He goes, I'm going to bring you Justin and Adam. Well, Kenna says, I'm going to bring you Justin and Adam. And they have a little fight over it. I'm like, I don't really know if I want to be signed by Fred Durst, because I left out the part that when Jimmy Iovine wanted us to sign Balthazar and I, we were about to do the deal, and he's like, I want you to meet Fred Durst. And I'm like, I don't really need to meet Fred Durst. I'm good. And he put us into a meeting, and it was super awkward. And Fred had said something about my rhyming, and I was like, got defensive. He was like, there's no question you can rhyme, but you just need hooks and choruses. And I was like, listen, bro, if you want to teach me about writing big choruses and being on MTV and blowing up, you could teach me about songwriting, but don't ever talk to me about rapping. Don't I was like, I'm the Zulu Nation and I fucking believe, I was like that asshole. So he's like, okay, dude. And the deal didn't happen, but not because of that. So what's ironic is that when Balthazar is like, I want to give your music to Fred, just please let me play him a few songs. I sat down with Adam and I'm like, do you want to do She Wants Revenge for real? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, we're going to give Balt these songs. He's going to play them for Fred. Fred's going to be like, I want to sign you. He's like, what does that mean? I'm like, we're going to have the power of Jimmy Iovine and the biggest record company in the world behind us. We're going to get $200,000. We're going to build a recording studio. We're going to make a record. We're going to tour. We're going to get them to guarantee tour support. We're going to start a band. We're going to build a following. We'll make a second record and they'll probably drop us. And then we'll have a big following. And then I said we'll have a following because I didn't think we were going to be big. And we'll have a studio. And that's what happened. I said, okay, Balt, you can play it for Fred. He played it for Fred. Fred was like, he literally called us that night and was like, it was the next day that I talked to. So I said, you can play it for him. That was at nighttime. The next day, he played it for Fred. We're out to dinner. Fred calls, yo, I want to sign you. Come to the studio. We went to the studio. I talked to him about the terms, shook hands. No Fred Durst, no She Wants Revenge. That simple. Steve Aoki from Dimmock wanted to put us on, and that would have been incredible, but it would have been a different trajectory because he was the first person that really believed in us in LA as far as not just friends when we were DJing and playing our music out. Steve wanted to sign us. But Steve's a real good guy. So when we signed with Fred, it was no love. It was no harm, no foul. And he was like, he hosted our first show, and then he got us our first tour opening for a band called Block Party because the manager was there at the show, fucked with us, and Steve was like, you should take them on the road. We still talk about that, and it's crazy. So honestly, that's all crazy. I sit back and think about the fact that Fred Durst tried to sign. Fred Durst, we almost signed with Interscope, Balthazar Getty and I, in 1999 as Tape. Years later, he signs both of us separately and completely changes my life. Because also, I met my wife at a video shoot for that band Ringside. So no Fred Durst, a lot of things in my life look different, which is a crazy thing to say because the first thing people think when they hear Justin Warfield is not Fred Durst, but that dude was instrumental.
Right. What eventually happened to that deal with Geffen?
Yeah, we got that deal, and I called up this dude who wanted to manage, who wanted to put out some hip hop stuff I'd done in the past. He was a real fan of my like rap stuff, and he understood. He knew One Inch Punch too, and I saw that he was a manager, and he was managing a group called Blonde Redhead, who was my favorite group at the time. And I saw his email on the back, so I emailed him and said, "It's Justin Warfield." He called me. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Bro, like we have a record deal. We just finished a record for Geffen," and he's like, "Let me manage you." I'm like, "That's why I'm calling." He became our manager, and we put together a crazy plan, and we got all this tour support. We went out and toured for a long time, and then we blew up at radio. And I was 30, I was about 30 or 31 years old. I was on my third record deal. I was completely resigned to just being washed from music, and I was making a short. I was trying to find financing for a feature film at the time, and I was working as an art department person. I was working as a casting person. I was working as a stylist assistant. I was just punching a clock and making a check. And then got signed by Geffen and was on the road touring. And then, you know, life completely changed because of that Geffen deal. And it was really dope. There was an amazing executive there named Paulie Anthony, rest in peace, who was at one point my dad's boss at Epic Records, like the era of like Pearl Jam and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
And I walked into her office with my manager and I was like, "Hey, good to see you, Paulie." She's like, "I know you." I'm like, "I'm Reese's son." She's like, "You're the singer of She Wants Revenge?" And she was just like, so when we put the thing in front of her, and we're like, "We need this much tour support. We need this. We want this. We wanted a publicist in Geffen, an outside publicist." Like me and Tom, the manager, had a plan. Polly's like, "I got you." I mean, she was already hyped on it. And then when she saw it was me, she was like, "This is crazy." So she helped change our lives in that way. Jordan Schur was at Geffen. He helped out a tremendous amount at that time. It's like Geffen and Interscope was the greatest label in the world at that point, where we, you know, we had the support of a lot of things. We, you know, Timbaland was in the family. We found out we were his favorite alternative group. We worked with Timbaland. Like, you know, like things were really special, and we blew up pretty fast, dude. It was life changing. But, you know, I had been through the game so many times that like I wasn't about to it wasn't going to be like it was when I made the Supernaut record. It was the opposite. I built a recording studio with Adam. We physically did construction on a space and created a better space. We bought all this gear, and Adam and I sat in a room alone. I'd never engineered an album by myself. And I'm like, "I'm engineering it. Let's do it. Let's go." And there was no excess. It was focus. And we were both sober, and we made this record. No homies hanging out. Like the opposite of Supernaut, totally focused. And we knew what we wanted to do. We were like, it was cool, man. It was a special time. It was really wild.
Right. At what point does Cult come into play?
So like in 2011, I'm starting, this is now 5 years after the first record came out, but we started playing shows in 2004. So it's like 7 years into being in the band. And I was like, I'm dying to do a hip hop record. And I was really itching. I'd seen Jerobi when he was living in Atlanta, and I was like, "Bro, I think I'm gonna make another rap record." He's like, "Fuck yeah." I'm like, "But I don't know what I want to say, and I can't make it until I know what I want to say." He's like, "Of course." And then like later, I started really getting the bug. So I just started making beats, and I just started doing it, and I was like, "Let me see if I can still do this at a high level." And I was really proud of what I did, and so I did more and more and more and more. I let a couple of people in the studio, and I was like, "I want to play you something," and they were like, "This is crazy." And then my friend was like, "You do realize it's the 20th anniversary of the first record?" And I was like, "That's even crazier." You know, and it's you know, it was really dope, and it was really fun. But I also was like, I'm not trying to get a label. It was just I was like a bunch of samples. I was like, I'm just gonna put it out. I put it out on Dat Piff, which is cool. And I
Yeah.
was just like, I'm just gonna drop it, man. Like, why not? Like, and it's so cool that I did it that way. And it was really fun. I really liked it. Um, I think I only performed the songs once. but it's wild, bro, because like I have an SP1200 right here. Like I still, you know, I still have that fire where I'm like, I still feel that I have something to prove to myself and to like the hip hop world. And I know that there's something in me still that's gonna happen at some point. I
Right.
just don't know what or when. I know that I bought a bunch of obscure, world music records from outside of the US of different cultures of psychedelic rock and funk and soul and all this and obscure things. And I can say that like when I do a hip hop record, it's not going to be like it's going to be strictly for the heads. Like it'll be like unclearable samples, you know, like you have to get this and hear it before it gets pulled down. Cause I just want to do like, like I love what like Evidence does. I love what Alchemist does. I love what like Primo still does. I love what Pete Rock does. Like that. I'm only interested in having a conversation in the space of hip hop if I can contribute to something that's real to me.
Mm.
Black Hash Cult was cool because I was like Balthazar Getty did a few beats for me. And then I was like, okay, like I started singing something. I'm like, what if I auto-tune my vocals like crazy? And like I was super influenced at the time by an artist who goes by a two-letter name I won't say and I don't fuck with whatsoever. But at the time, I was so heavy into him. And so I really liked the idea of playing with a little auto-tune. I liked the idea of like really crazy beats. And what's funny is I'd never heard Run the Jewels ever at that time. And only because Just Blaze tweeted about it or something once did I go, wait, what's that? But what's crazy is like when I look back at Black Hash Cult, I feel like I was tapping into something similar to LP in the way that he was combining synthesizers and beats. Um, yeah, man, and like I like that record. I think it's really good. I mean, the songs that really I like All of the Time because it's just that party 1991 souls kind of beat like, and I'm just going, like, and I mean, the craziest thing to me, dude, is like, if somebody said, who's Justin Warfield as a rapper, somebody might say Drugstore Cowboy, someone might say Season of the Vic. I would say go listen to Black Hash Cult because, like, that's an adult. That's like a grown man rhyming. And like when I hear like 22 or Diary or All the Time, I'm like, that's fun. Like, and it's me just spitting. Like, I never rapped that good back then. Where I had more voice control now,
Right.
I could just do what I wanted. Like, and there's little things like I am doing a little bit of a J for fun on 22, where I'm like, because I can. Like, and that was fun. But I did that all alone in the room. Even if my friends gave me beats, thank you. And I just take that file, drop it in the computer. I did everything, and then I gave it to my friend. He mixed it. So I have another rap record in me, which honestly is a real big reason why my new project is called Warfield and not Justin Warfield.
Mm.
Because I always want Justin Warfield to be my rap name.
Gotcha. Now, what was Dream Club?
Dude, isn't that crazy? So Dream Club was the name of a tape song that was probably like our most singly song. And I was hanging out reading a Fleetwood Mac book. She Wants Revenge was like broken up on hiatus. I was producing music for other people that was sort of getting a little bit more like rock and roll, indie rock, but I was like reading this Fleetwood Mac book and I gave it to Gianni from all the other bands, and I was like, dude, you gotta read this. And his dad used to play with like some of the Eagles, and his dad used to play with Jackson Brown, and I was like, dude, like this is so much of an era of what we loved and what we wanted to do during Super Now. We didn't know how. Like with what we know now as musicians, like we should jam and bring your bass over. So he brought his bass over and we just started writing, and that's what Dream Club happened. We just started writing all these songs. And then I was like, bro, we should lean into this California rock thing. Like we both grew up in the Valley and Laurel Canyon and like this like sort of hippie rock, but like very California and Fleetwood Mac and like good parts of the Eagles and Neil Young and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young and like um, soft rock from the 70s and even like some yacht rock stuff. And I was like, let's do this. And then we got this drummer, Dusty, who is a really good friend who I loved his drumming and I always want to play with him, who's another local musician. And he brought his friend Jamie. And then I was like, well, let's get a female vocal in like Fleetwood Mac, and got my wife, Stephanie, in. And next thing you know, we were playing shows, we were making a record, and like it was beautiful. I'm so glad that we documented it and that I spent the time and the money to make a record, and that there's music videos too that show this is what we were like live, because that band was so good and it was really fun. It was a dope period. And then really the only reason that band stopped is because She Wants Revenge got back together.
Okay. So what exactly was Forever Never Changes? That looked like it started in pandemic era. Did that come out of the pandemic?
Yeah. Want to know what's crazy? The whole album dropped yesterday. Like for the first time, I submitted it like a week ago. Had no idea it was coming out yesterday. I was like, oh shit, my album came out, and I just put it out on Instagram. I didn't blow it up or anything.
Right.
We went in it before the pandemic hit. We were making a new She Wants Revenge record. Pandemic hit. Life gets crazy. I start writing songs that don't sound like She Wants Revenge, and I'm like, this is something different. To me, it sounds like a John Hughes movie. To me, it sounds like I started with this keyboard part for this song called Breathe. I was literally, I had this new keyboard here, and I was like sitting there like, brand new keyboard I just bought, playing these keyboard sounds, total quarantine, like wiping down packages, wearing masks, like not seeing anybody if they're outside of your bubble and pod. Start playing this keyboard sound. I'm like, yo, this sounds like a 80s movie. I'm like, that is a cool energy. So I start writing a song. I'm like, oh shit, I guess I got to make the solo record. Gianni and I had done some recordings 2 years before in 2018. I start going through a hard drive and I find them. I'm like, these are fire. And then I start going through my computer. I'm like, wait, I came up with band names. So I start seeing like all these logos I made for these band names. And one of the names was Forever Never Changes. And I was like, that is a dope band name. Let's do that. So I make a solo record. I'm like, I'm going to call it Warfield. I take the song that Gianni played on and I chop it up and do this. One song was something that was going to be a She Wants Revenge song. It was a demo Adam gave me that I chopped and flipped into and wrote a new song with. And then the rest was songs that I wrote. I sent files to a couple friends and they sent me stuff back because it was all remote and COVID, just so I can have a couple of different musicians play on it. And I just made the solo record. And then I did like a membership, like, yo, if you support this and I will be able to mix and master the record, which I did. And then I did a concert, sort of, it was supposed to be like a live stream thing from the Roxy in LA, but I was like, oh, hold on a sec, I gotta grab my power charger. So okay. I was like, it was supposed to be a live stream, but I was like, I'm gonna make it more than a live stream. I want it to be like a 70s concert film. So I did this whole thing that ended up being very cool. And we did a live, like a live from the Roxy thing. And it was cool. And then like I got a band together and started rehearsing that. And then we were going to go on tour as Warfield. And then once again, She Wants Revenge got back together. And so what happened was I was doing She Wants Revenge. It was going better than ever. But I was like, I can do She Wants Revenge and this other thing. So at that point, I was like, do I really want to call it Forever Never Changes and just another project from this dude? Like, how many fucking bands is this guy out? And then I was looking at it and I'm like, most of the things that I have out there say Justin Warfield, like, and there's not a lot, but it's like, I want to do Forever Never Changes. I want to just do Justin Warfield. And then I was like, I don't want to do Warfield. I'm like, I don't want to do Warfield. Something told me, keep that name. So I was like, I'm just, instead of the album title, because at the point I was like, I'm going to be just Warfield. Go out as a solo artist. And this is like before She Wants Revenge got back together. I was like, I'm gonna go to Warfield, be a solo artist, and I'm gonna put out a record called Forever Never Changes. Then we get She Wants Revenge back together, and then I was like, I'm just gonna call the album Forever Never Changes as the band, and I'm gonna save my name. So that's the choice I make. I do that. We put out some singles, we meaning just me, and I get a distribution deal, start my own imprint. I start putting out singles. We play some shows. Amazing. Very similar to Dream Club. We shared one guitar player, Jamie Aronson, who's also in American Hi-Fi and plays with Miley Cyrus. He was the guitar player in Forever Never Changes. We had a couple different lineups. It was amazing. We played a couple of amazing shows. And then I just started getting busy, and I was like, I just have too much She Wants Revenge stuff going on. I don't really need to like do this. And then what ended up and the only reason I put it out as Forever Never Changes and Justin Warfield is so that Justin Warfield fans, air quote, would be like, they could find it on DSPs and like Spotify and Amazon. So I put my name in it so people could find it, and featuring would have sounded dumb. So it's like a joint artist thing, which I don't love that, but it's just for awareness. So I did that. And then, which is the same thing I think I did with Dream Club. Maybe not. I don't remember. Probably not. And so then, I think I re-released Dream Club like that so that people would actually see it. So then, like, I started making some music this, I guess, like last fall and winter, like around like Halloween. I started making music, and the new songs I was writing were like, we had been working on a She Wants Revenge record for like a while. But I started doing these other songs because sometimes I'll write something and I'll be like, I'm gonna send this to Adam. This feels like She Wants Revenge. And sometimes I write something and I'm like, this is not She Wants Revenge. And like I started working on this this song, and I was like, this is crazy. And then I did another and another, and I was like, oh, this is what is supposed to be Warfield. Like, and the weird thing about Warfield was I did the record Forever Never Changes in quarantine. I didn't know I needed to make that record. It just came out of me. I didn't know that I needed to make Warfield and the music that we're releasing. It just came out of me. What's wild, though, is the people that are hearing it are like, this is like the first time that you've done anything that seems like, that sounds like, or feels in the same ballpark or related to She Wants Revenge. And it's funny because the simple answer is every time I've done something outside of She Wants Revenge, whether it's Black Hedge Cult, whether it's Dream Club, whether it's Forever Never Changes, whether it's the unreleased demos that I have sitting here, I was like, we know what She Wants Revenge is, but now let me stretch out and do something I can't do, that I'm not allowed to do in that, because it'll kind of taint that, or it'll change it too much. She Wants Revenge definitely very clearly stated who and what we are. So when I started doing this Warfield stuff, I'm like, oh, this is wild. This is closer. And it's funny too, because there's always these things with me. Like Dream Club was a result of me reading this book called Rumors, which was the story of making Rumors by Fleetwood Mac. And I give it to Gianni and we start talking, and then he comes over and we jam. And the first song we write is a song Daddy that ended up being on Dream Club that sounds like Fleetwood Mac. Not a big shocker. We were in that space. It sounds like us, but it's influenced by that.
Right.
When I'm sitting here doing Warfield, I got this book called Phantoms, which is it's the like sort of the oral history of Los Angeles death rock, which is a scene of music that was the sort of when punk rock started to get sort of creepy, spooky, fast, and horror. So bands started wearing black eye makeup and black leather and lace, and before they were called goths in LA, they were called death rockers, and then they were called that in England. And one could argue the origins are maybe some of the music of the Damned in the UK earlier at the beginning of punk. A lot of people would say it was sort of the beginning of like Christian Death and Community FK and Nervous Gender and these other bands. But I was looking at this book and the images, and then I went into, and this is super weird, I went into my friend's shop, which is, I don't want to say an occult shop, but they're like witches. They're like these men who are like witches, and they make these amazing candles. And I went into the shop to get a candle one day, and I picked out a few candles, and the person who was walking me through the candles starts talking to me. And then I asked him if they were back there, and he says no. He goes, wait, you know them? I said, oh, I know them very well. They're really good friends with my wife. These are the owners of the place, Mark and Martin. The shop is called Spellbound Sky in Los Angeles. Anyways, this guy behind the counter, Adam, says, oh, I know who you are. I know your wife. And then we start talking, and he's like, I also know your band. And he had like a crazy, amazing look too. And I was just like, oh, you know my band? And he's like, yeah. And then he's like, I'm a DJ. And he's like, have you ever heard of this band and this band? And he starts naming all these things. And then he starts talking about LA Death Rock. And I'm like, you're blowing my mind right now, because that's all I've been thinking about and listening to. And we just had this moment. And then I played some of the music for my friend, and he's like, oh, this reminds me of this and this. And I was like, oh, I have that inspiration. Something new is happening. Like, it's like when Supernaut died, I tagged 1 Inch Punch on the wall, literally just because we were into Bruce Lee. And then we were looking for a band name. We were like, I guess that's the name. Like, that's the way things start with me. When Adam and I did one song, he was like, we need a band name. Let's make buttons. Let's do it. And I was like, okay. And he goes, something feminine and dark. Like, how about like, I was like, let's do the Wonderland Murders. He's like, that's way too dark. And, and he's like, what about Girl Revenge? And I said, well, what about She Wants Revenge? And he said, great. So I tagged it on my desk. I looked at it, and I'm like, that looks good. He had our friend Bree draw it up. We made buttons, we made stickers before anybody knew who we were. Warfield started in the same way. I'm like talking to this dude, Adam, not Adam Braven, but this guy, Spellbound Sky, is a DJ named Adam 16 or Adam XIX, XIV. And he's like, yo, like Death Rock. And I'm like, bro, Death Rock. And I'm like, I'm going to do my version for the 17-year-old kids who come and see me who don't know what this is. Like the 50-year-olds and the 60-year-olds, they know. Right. But like, I want to take that and turn it on its head. And I already had the songs, but now I had a name and a vision and an aesthetic. So I ended up talking to a couple of labels, and I ended up having a real connection with Cleopatra in Los Angeles, who had been putting out records since right around the time that I did Season of the Vic, like a year after that. They've been around a long time. They know the game. They're great. And I pitched them my vision, and I said, hey, like, we're doing this EP, and then we're doing another EP, and then we're doing another EP. And they're all different volumes. And it's called Death Rock Devotionals. And the band's called Warfield. And they said, it sounds great. And I sent them the music, dude, like Thanksgiving weekend. And they were like, let's do it. And this is how fast it's gone. Like, shooting the second video this Thursday. It's coming out in 10 days. Like,
wow.
Tour is going to be announced, everything. And it's like, you know, it's crazy, bro. Like, I didn't know this was going to happen. I didn't plan this, but like, you never know when inspiration is going to strike, you know?
Right. Exactly. After the Warfield project, what can we expect from Justin Warfield in 2025?
3 EPs, total of 6 singles and music videos leading up to an album, vinyl, European tours, hopefully Australian tours, Eastern European tours, North American tours. I would like to get to South America and Mexico as well. Adam and I are talking about what She Wants Revenge is going to be doing for these 2 festivals. We're playing the Cruel World Festival in May in Pasadena, California, and the Forever Now Festival in Milton Keynes, which is just outside of London. So those are 2 very big festivals. Cruel World is my favorite music festival. And that's going to be really fun and exciting. And, you know, we still have a lot of unreleased She Wants Revenge music, because prior to me doing the Warfield stuff, and Adam has a new band called The Death of Lilies. Prior to those projects, we were working on this record. So we have a lot of unreleased material that one day we would like people to hear. But yeah, man, it's just like, I'm turning 52 in a few months. I'm looking at I'm launching a brand new solo project. It's like a crazy time as an artist because I feel more energized and pumped than I have. I mean, it feels like in the beginning of She Wants Revenge because you created something out of nothing and this inspiration. I felt the same way with Dream Club, and I felt the same way with Forever Never Changes. The difference is with Dream Club, it definitely wasn't ever going to go on the road in the way that I wanted it to. And Forever Never Changes, I got She Wants Revenge back together with Adam, and that took precedent. With Warfield, it's the first time what my audience wants from me is something that I actually want to do for my side project. Because usually She Wants Revenge fans are like, at best, they're like, oh my God, that's amazing. I really love this side of you, Justin. And at worst, they're probably like, okay, cool. You go off and do your weird thing. When are you going to do more She Wants Revenge?
Right.
This is the first time that what I want to do probably aligns with what they want from me. So it's interesting. So I'm going to be touring and playing. And I guess the only question is, how do I incorporate some Dream Club songs? How do I incorporate Forever Never Changes? How do I incorporate tape? How do I incorporate, I don't think I don't see a way for me to rhyme. Um, and part of me goes, well, maybe I don't want to play some of those songs, but maybe, if I will say this, whether it's She Wants Revenge, One Inch Punch, Tape, Forever Never Changes, Dream Club, if I play those songs, I'm not going to play them like I would with those musicians. I would do something different.
Right.
But yeah, man, I also want to make a hip hop record.
Will the unreleased The Spits ever see the light of day?
Bro, I don't think so, bro. Like, it's so funny. It's so bad. Like, if you know it's a joke, it's incredible.
Right.
I mean, like, it is like, no, man, it's bad. No, like, it's because when I think about it, like, it's literally like you can imagine, like, the biggest song out when we recorded was In the Club.
Mm.
So those are what the kind of beats that we're doing.
Right. Right.
I mean, so it's like, it's not good, bro. But every once in a while I've dropped like little things like I did a really dope song that didn't make my record called Blue Jean Hackman that I put up a while ago on SoundCloud where I was like, oh, here's a B-side I did. And it's so wild to me because like for me as an artist, and this is the most important thing, if someone only hears this part of this way too long interview where I'm running my mouth, there is no difference between a song that I leak on like social media and say, here's the song that I did on, and I drop it on SoundCloud, and like me putting out an album with a label and promotion and touring. Like the most important thing for me is documenting what I do so that like my Wikipedia is trash. Like if you look at it, it does not tell you 1/4 of what we talked about.
Right.
And it won't let me do it. So I need journalists and other people to update it with things that are substantiated, but they're so picky and there's so many rules. There's no document of it. So in 2020, besides doing Forever Never Changes, the other project I did is I made justinwarfield.com a living, breathing thing that is the visual and audio version of this conversation. You can go in it and you can see all the things that I've done and click on the links and listen to the music and look at the pictures and watch the videos. And it's immersive and it's crazy. It'll shut down your browser. It is so much information. But
Right.
that's my sort of, the bad way of saying it would be schizophrenic version of all this stuff, man. Like, I think that it's all important. Like, I took as much pleasure in taking the cassette when I found the cassette of all the songs that were supposed to be on the One Inch Punch record, in addition to the final masters. This was off of a 1/2 inch master. I put it in a cassette, put some plugs into my interface and Pro Tools, and recorded the whole thing and was like, chopped it into separate songs, put it on Bandcamp and SoundCloud. I'm like, cool, there's the whole record. If you want to hear it, it's out of print. Nobody has it. Universal wants to tell me to take it down. Cool. I hit them last week and I'm like, let's put it out on vinyl. Like, I have just as much pride in putting that up because it's like, here's was my life in 1996. You're listening to my life. If you listen to tape, you're like, man, like you're listening to my life between 1999 and 2003.
Mm.
If you like listen to She Wants Revenge B-sides, which we've put out, you're going, damn, that's what that dude did in 2004 or 2005. And we know what She Wants Revenge put out publicly after that. I have music has not been released. You know what I mean? I have these things. So it's like for me, it all matters because it's like, I don't think that everything I do is dope enough to release to the world. But if it is something that I believe in and I feel like it captures who I am at a moment as an artist, I want it to come out and live in the world so that people can go, dude, that's crazy. Like I dropped an album yesterday. I literally did like 2 posts and shared other people's posts about it. Like I didn't go like, hey guys, big announcement. I'm just like, yo, I dropped a record. People
Right.
are starting to listen to it and it's exciting. And you know, if I have any voice left, I'll jump on a live tonight and talk to people about it because I want people to listen to it. But
Right.
it's the same time, man, it's like I've been making music for over 34 years. Like that's a long time. And it's cool because at a certain point I made a decision that like I needed to document the things that I was doing and put them out so that people didn't just go, Season of the Vic, She Wants Revenge. Or Season of the Vic, Bomb the Bass, Bug Powder Dust, She Wants Revenge.
Right.
Connect all those things. And that's what my website does. And that's what I'm going to continue to do because we're about to drop 3 EPs from tape on just, you know, Amazon, Spotify, all that, which is exciting. And it's just more of the story coming out. I wish I could put out Black Hash Cult, but there's samples and they're going to be like, you got to pay. And I'm like, no, I don't.
Right. No doubt. You just shouted out that website. Where else can the supporters find Justin Warfield on social media?
At Instagram, I'm at Justin Warfield. On TikTok, I'm Justin.Warfield. And what else am I at? That's about it. I'm in my SoundCloud, my Bandcamp, just my name. But you can pretty much get all those things from justinwarfield.com.
No doubt. Thank you, Justin Warfield, for this fabulous interview. Everything you've done for the culture. Anything you need, I'm always here in the future. Any last words for your supporters, your day ones, those who have caught on maybe later on with some of your groups? Any last words for those supporters?
No, I mean, just like thank you, because like the coolest thing that ever happened at She Wants Revenge shows was either someone coming up to me and saying, this was happening in my life and I heard this music and then this happened, or I lost somebody and I listened to this song and it got me through it, or I met my husband at your show and now we're married and this is our child, or those kind of things, or real heavy personal stories. The other thing especially is when somebody comes up and they're like, sign this hip hop record. Like that is like, oh my God, that's amazing. Because like I got fans in weird places that are like homie in Philly and another kid in Atlanta, and they'll come up and I'll sign it and I'll be so hyped. I love that. And I got a big surprise coming on the live front that I can't talk about, that will be in the fall, that people who know that other chapter of my life in between the QD3 Sound Lab and in between 1 Inch Punch are going to be very hyped about. And yeah, man, I just thank you for rocking with me, like, and staying with me. For the people that understand my weird, wonderful journey in music, like, there's not a lot of Justin Warfield fans, but they are all amazing weirdos, and I love every one of them.
No doubt. Like I said, thank you for everything you've done for the culture. It has not been forgotten. Best wishes and congratulations to you moving into the future. New product on the way from Justin Warfield. I am the journalist Sin-seer. That's Justin Warfield. Thank you so much, Justin.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate you. Thank you for these incredible questions and the time and your energy and keeping after me so we can make this happen.
No doubt. Thank you for the opportunity once again. See you again in the future.
Take care, sir.
You too.
Bye.